think the Middle East has its own challenges, has its own history, and we should respect and understand that. So how the Middle East country come to their own solutions will be quite different from how perhaps Southeast Asian countries come to their own solutions, because the history is different, the context is different. So I'm not saying that one should try to copy what other people do. By the way, I think in Southeast Asia, we have our own fair share of challenges. It's not as if that we are living in Shangri-La and then there are no issues. But I think what is fundamental, whether it's in the Middle East, the Southeast Asia, I think what is fundamental is this. Do the people in the neighborhood wants to come together and say, let's prosper thy neighbor. Let's work together. For the good of our people, what are we fighting for? What are we fighting for? What are we fighting for? Is it to put down somebody else? Is it to make sure that we lift our people up? It is an age-old security issue. That's why I say what I say at Shangri-La as well. One cannot hope to improve my own sense of security without addressing other people's insecurity. Because it becomes a vicious cycle, right? Everybody try to arm themselves, to feel themselves, to make themselves more secure. In the end, making their neighbors feel less secure. And every action has a reaction, equal and opposite in direction, according to Newton's third law. Then we are in a race to the bottom. But fundamentally, whether it's Middle East or Southeast Asia, is this. Do we come together and say that we can uplift one another? And our competition is not amongst us or between any particular country. Our real competition is how do we create a value proposition, make a living for ourselves and our people with the rest of the world. Now that is fundamental. If we cannot set aside that, never mind whether it is Southeast Asia or Middle East, we'll get back into the same problem. It's the same in Africa, it's the same in South America, it's the same everywhere. Where people say that, I want to prosper, I want to be more secure, but I decide to go it alone, then I cause externalities on others. What is more complicated in the Middle East, perhaps more so than Southeast Asia, is history. It's history. We have a saying, never forget history, but never be shackled by history. That requires leadership. How do we transcend history? That will require very bold leadership. From the countries in Middle East to the countries in Southeast Asia, Africa, or South America. That we want to transcend history. We don't want to be shackled by history. We can see a shared future, working together, prospering together, where it's not a zero-sum game. Well, I'm not entirely despondent. I think some Gulf countries have been able to show that. Qatar, the UAE, they are trying to transcend history and not be shackled by history. If that is the starting point, and that's a shared starting point, then I think the people in the Middle East or elsewhere, Southeast Asia, we will all have a much better life. Because we are focused on what is really important to the people, rather than what's important to a select group of people who are there thinking about their political interests and so forth. Frankly speaking, you ask the Israelis, the Palestinians, the Iranians, the Saudis, the average people on the street, what do they want? They just want to be able to get on with life. have some peace, some predictability, able to trade with one another. That's all right. We are all quite simple. You ask the people in Southeast Asia, what do we want? The common people on the streets are not fighting all these political issues, right? They just want to be able to find a good job, be able to trade, be able to take care of their families. And as political leaders, we have to ask ourselves, is that not our responsibility to try to deliver that? And my final thought is this. I think one more. At the end of the day, what is victory for any countries in the Middle East or Southeast Asia? What is victory? Is victory because we managed to beat the other guy? Bash him up? Is victory because I've been able to trump and beat him and become richer than him and so forth? Is that real victory? Or is victory where you are able to hold ourselves up as a beacon to attract people to say that, I want to be like you. I want to be like you. So I always say this, including to big powers. History is not when you defeat the other fella. History is when you win the war. When you win the war and the world says that, I think this is the model that I want to be. That to me is victory. It's not about beating your opponent, but it's about winning the war. It's very idealistic perhaps, but I think, well, at least with some ideals, life is worth trying, even though life is hard. But at least there's something I think we can strive towards, right? But I'm not sure this mindset is so common that we want to prosper thy neighbor together and not beggar thy neighbor. But this is ultimately an issue of political leadership. All of us have a choice to make. All of us have a responsibility to take. So I don't think there's anything unique about the situation in Southeast Asia or the Middle East or Africa or South America. The question is the issue of political leadership. Whether we really want to transcend history, uplift our people, rather than just focus on beating the other guy.